Welcome back everyone. I hope you're having a great day. The last episode, that was divided into several videos, we added enemies into our game. Today we will add multiple levels. It will be a simple yet functioning way of going from one level to the next, and we will complete the level by killing all the enemies in the game. Once they are dead, we go to the next level. There won't be any recap in this video, because in the last video we tied everything together. Well, except for a few bugs, but we will fix them before we start coding. But there will be a shout out to 3 new supporters of the channel, 2 of which are actually members. And the certified gamers are Just a Guy and Tread. Also, a thank you to DNA Mobile Tutorials. Thank you guys for all of your support. And as a reminder, all of the code and assets can be found on my website or on GitHub. If you have questions about this tutorial, or maybe you get stuck somewhere, check out the Discord link. And if you want to go the extra mile to show your support, there is a link below where you can buy me a coffee. Even though I don't drink coffee, I'm a tea guy. Now, let's get into the episode. And before we start the actual episode, let's solve the 2 bugs that we had from previous one. So let's run the game and see where we're at. And the first bug we're gonna fix is when the enemy is running to the right, he goes beyond the edge here and is in the air, but it's only on the right side. And that is simply because in our enemy, or Krabby rather, when we move it, first we're checking if we can move there, meaning that there is no tiles or anything in the way. And then the second check we do for enemies is that we're making sure that the enemy is running on the floor. So the next position is not only checked for a collision from a wall, but also making sure that there is a floor where the enemy is trying to move. So the error, or rather bug, is in here. And I made a comment about it. But all we have to do, because it's checking currently hitbox.x plus x speed. So it will work to the left side, but it will not work as well to the right. So all we have to do is to make an if here. If x speed is more than 0, meaning we're going to the right, then we copy this and say hitbox.x plus hitbox.width. Otherwise, we do the same as we did before. And if you run it now, there should be no such error. It's working perfectly. Nice. And the second fix is this one. If I'm standing here, the enemy attacks. You should not do that. And if you remember, we added something very specific for this reason alone, so they do not try to attack the player if the player is on another tile. So if you go to the Krabby, we have something called, or rather enemy, I think it's inside. We have something called tile Y, and then we have the player Y. And for the enemy, as soon as he lands from being in air, he gets a tile Y. And we check every update in the Krabby class if we can see the player. And part of this method is to make sure that the player is on the same Y as the enemy. If it's not, we return false. But the enemy is still attacked. And that's because if this one falls, this one is checked no matter what. And there is no such check in here. It's just checking if the distance between the x's are within the attack distance. And it is, so the enemy therefore attacks. And all we have to do here is to add brackets around it all, like so. We should not be attacked. 2 bugs, very easily fixed. And the third issue we need to deal with, that when we pause the game, we have a replay button that doesn't do anything. We kind of have all the code necessary to do a replay, because when we die, we reset everything and start again from the beginning. And that's pretty much what the replay button do. So let's go to the pause overlay class and let's take a look. So where we have our buttons, if we are in the replay button when we release it, the replay button was pressed before we shout out replayed level. But now we can actually remove that one. And we can say playing dot reset all, and then playing dot unpause the game. And if we try it now, and we kill an enemy, maybe we kill 2, pause the game, replay, and we're back at the beginning. Simple, yet effective. The fourth and the last issue we're going to fix has to do with the inputs to the game. It's actually something that goes back to the second episode of this tutorial where we added inputs to the game. Some players have reported that their keyboard inputs didn't always work. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But the mouse input always worked. And that was a weird thing, but it has to do with this line right here. Dot request focus. Before we say that, we're going to call gamePanel.set focusable true. So by saying gamePanel.set focusable true, we're now making sure that our inputs to the game work as they should. And I will not go deeper into this, why it's working for some people, sometimes, and for others always. It has to do with it being platform dependent. So yeah, we're gonna leave it at that and continue with the actual episode. Now, let's begin by adding multiple levels to our game. And first up, we will need some sort of overlay that says that the level was completed. Do we want to go to the next level, or do we want to go back to the menu? And I have just such an image ready, and it is this one. It will be a very simple level is completed, and we will have 2 buttons, one for menu and one for going to the next level, if there is one. So let's just grab it and drop it in our res folder. And then we will create the actual class we need. Just like we did with our game over overlay, we will now have a level completed overlay. So a new class in our UI package called level completed overlay. And this class will of course have a constructor, so public level completed overlay. It will need a playing. So this class will be created in our playing class as well. And then we just store this one right here, playing, and of course this dot playing equals playing. We will also, of course, have 2 buttons. And we had a few different types of buttons, but the buttons we can use that we already have classes for is a URM button, menu, and another one called next. So menu button and next level button. We will also have a image for the actual overlay. So private buffered image. Let's just call it image. We will only have one here anyway. And then we need to import this as well. We also need to store a few integers here. So private int, and these values will be what's deciding where and how big our actual image should be. So we need a background X, a background Y, we need a background width, and a background height. Nothing special, it's pretty much what we've done before when we are adding an overlay or an image that needs some values. So let's begin by importing this image by saying init image, create the method like so. And before we can actually get the image, we need to go to our load and save and make a public static final string because we imported a new image. So not status bar, let's call this one completed image. And it's actually called completed sprite, so completed sprite. All right, we can close that one down, we can close this one down. So image is equal to load save.getSpriteAtlas, load save.completed image. Then I'm just gonna copy paste the values for our X, Y, width, and height. There is no weird stuff here, we've done this a few times, so for the width, the height, X and Y, and these are the position that they will have and the width they will have. And after we're done with our image, we also need to initialize our buttons. So let's create that method. And I'm also gonna copy paste the values for our buttons. We've done this a few times, so there's no need for us to go over it again, but we do need to import the static value of URM size. So import static util dot constant dot UI dot URM buttons. Let's take them all. Dot star. Here we have the position for X for each. The Y will be the same, they will be on the same place. And then we have XY, width, height, and 0 and 2 represent what type of button it should be. So next we'll have the green one for 0, this first row, and the menu will have the last, which is 2. So that's why we have 0 and 2. And in this LevelCompleted class, we will need a few more methods. We will have a public void update. We will have a public void draw graphics G. We need to both update our buttons and also draw them. Nothing new there. And then we will need our mouse event input. So public void mouse moved. We need a public void mouse released. We need a public void mouse pressed. And I think that is all we need. And then we need a mouse event E. It's the first one, java.avt. Let's copy this one and paste it in each of them. So for released and also pressed. Just like that. Let's see if we can draw the actual buttons and also our background. So for our background, we go g.drawImage. We need image, x, y, width, height, and null. Yes, that was quick. And then we go next.draw, menu.draw. So let's go to our playing class, and right up here somewhere, right underneath our game overlay, we can add a private level completed overlay, level completed overlay. And we go down here to init classes equals new level, and we give it this. Perfect. Let's just draw it real quick without anything else. So right at the bottom of our draw call here, let's just call draw or LevelCompleted Overlay dot draw. So we get it right away without having to kill all the enemies. So let's go in. So yeah, that is in a good position. Now let's actually work on our mouse events for our buttons. And we're going to check here several times if we are inside our button whenever an event is happening. So let's make a quick private Boolean method that's called isIn. And it's going to do what the other one is doing, which is checking real quick if we are inside our button when we click or move or whatever. But we need a URM button B and also a mouse event E. Here we return b.getBounce.contains e.getX, e.getY. So we don't have to type this out every time we are checking whether or not we are inside a button. So for our mouse move, first we need to next.set mouse over false. And the same for our menu, set mouse over false. And then we can check if is in menu E, then we say menu.set mouse over true. Else if is in next E, next.set mouse over true. That's all we need to do for our mouse move. And for our mouse pressed, let's just copy from there and go in here, but it's not mouse over, it's set mouse pressed to true, like so. And if we release it, we also check here, but we also check if menu.is mouse pressed. If that's the case, we do something. For now, we're just gonna say sudo and say menu. And the same for our next is if next.is mouse pressed, we say next. But we need some brackets here, otherwise it's gonna be wrong. That looks better. But if we release, we also need to say menu.resetBools and next.resetBools, like so. And I think that is all we need to do in here for now. So let's go back to our playing class and actually add a boolean, private boolean LevelCompleted, and set it to true. So we can test our inputs now. It will be false by default, but we want to test it out, our inputs. And if we are not paused, not game over, and not level completed, but that's a bad way of going. Let's actually flip this and say if paused, we first need brackets to make it look better, and then we say pause overlay.update, else if level completed, we update our level completed, so level completed overlay.update, else we do all of this. But we need to make sure that we are not game over. And then we can remove those. So first we're checking if it's paused, then we go for a pause. If it's level completed, we go for a level completed. And if it's not game over, then we do all of these. Because if it's game over, we shouldn't update at all. So that's good. For our draw, we can just add a else if level completed boolean and bring that one up a little bit. Perfect. Mouse clicked, we don't use key pressed there, key released, not mouse drag, but our mouse pressed, released, and moved, we do need them. So for our game over, we add brackets around it. Because if it's not game over and if it's paused, then we go to pause. Else, if level completed, then we go to level completed overlay dot mouse pressed. And I think we can copy this line right there for mouse released, but we need brackets, so let's add brackets. That looks good. And mouse moved, and also brackets. Perfect. I think we can try it. So let's see what happens. All right, so our mouse move worked somehow or somewhat, but it was the wrong kind. Let's see what we had here. And that is obviously because I copied this line here, but I never changed mouse released to mouse released and our mouse moved to our mouse moved. So if we try it again, let's see what happens. It should work. Mouse over works, pressed and released works. Beautiful. That's how it should be. And we get a response in our console. All right, so with our level completed overlay, we are going to change how we find the levels for our game. So first, let's go to our rest folder and just delete our level 1 data and level data if you have the long one as well. So just delete that so we have no level files in our rest folder. Then right click rest folder and we're going to create a new folder. And if you can't find it in this list, try going other and look for look for it here. But a new folder we sure need. And we're going to call it levels and not the same name as the package up here. Because if we do, then we're going to get issues when we are trying to get the resource for it. So levels is good enough. And then we're going to drag 3 levels that I already made into this package. And they will simply be 1, 2, and 3. Then just keep a number as their name, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and so on. No letters, no nothing. Just keep them with numbers, because even though they are sorted by our standard 1, 2, 3, 4, when we are retrieving them later, they will not necessarily be in order. But we're going to get them in order, so just keep them with numbers, and it's going to be easier for us when we do sort them later. But we can minimize this right now. Then we can go to our load and save method, or class really. And we can remove level 1 data line right there and save it. Right away we get 2 errors. We're trying to get the sprite atlas that we don't have. But for now we're going to ignore it. And we're going to create a method here called public static buffered image. And it's going to be an array. And we can call it GetAllLevels. And this method is going to get all the images and return them sorted, meaning we're going to get all the levels, and then we're going to deal with that in our level manager. But first we're going to need the path to our levels folder, and we're going to use something called URL. URL is equal to, and then we have used the same method here, or the same concept before, load save dot class dot get resource. And we're just going to pass in /levels. And then of course we need to import URL, and we're going to take the java.net. And then we need to access this folder and look what's inside it. So we need a file is equal to null. And this file will be equal to new file. And we're going to take our URL, which is the location, but we can't just use the URL. We need to turn it to a URI. The URL is the location, and the URI is the actual resource, in this case, the folder. And it gives us an error, so we need to turn this into a try and catch. And if that works, then we continue down this path. And now we have the folder where every resource is inside. But we can't do much with the folder, so we need a new file, but this is going to be an array of files, and we're going to call it files. Is equal to file.listFiles. And this folder that we have, which is the levels folder, will go over all the files inside it and list them inside these files. And hopefully now we have all our images in this array. So let's just make a quick for file f files syso file, and then plus f.getName, and we're going to return 0, or rather null. Even though we have a few errors here, maybe we can call this method before we ever get to any of these places. Let's give it a try. So let's go to our main class, game, and right before we start the classes we say load save dot get all levels. So hopefully we can access this, and we could. So even though it's crashed, we have a lot of errors, but we managed to access that method and list all the files we have, and we have 3, 1, 2. And as you can see, that's all our levels, but they're not in order. So we need to sort them. And now you can get into all sort of algorithms that helps you sort it, etc. But we don't have that big of arrays. We're not talking about thousands or tens of thousands of points. We have 3 levels we need to sort. So we're gonna do it the very simple way without going into the most efficient way. So we can just comment this section out and then continue down here. And just like we have an array here that's not sorted, let's create a new file array that have files sorted is equal to new file. And then we say files dot, is it size? No, length. So it's the same size, but this one currently is now empty. So we're gonna fill it up. And we're gonna make a loop here. So int I is equal to 0, I is less than files sorted dot length I plus plus, and then a for int j equals 0, j is less than files dot length j plus plus, and then some brackets here for making it easier for us to see. And here we need a if files, the one with not that is not sorted, j dot get name equals, and when you're checking if two strings are matching, you can't always go if string 1 equals string 2, because that will sometimes fail, or most of the time fails. So you need to use the dot equals, and then in here is where we actually give it the name. So it's inside here where we give it the actual string. And the string will be, well, just the numbers. So we're gonna say nothing, and then plus I plus 1 plus dot png. If that matches, then files sorted j is equal to files I. No, is it other way around? Yeah, my bad, other way around. Files sorted I equals files j. So this text right here will be nothing, then plus the number, and we always start with 1, and then plus png at the end. So the first one will be nothing. We use, actually you can probably remove those two, then it looks a little bit cleaner. So this will look for the name with the lowest number and put it in the files array. And once that's done, then they go for the next, and so on. So this one will start at 0 plus 1, png. Once it finds it, it puts it in the first index. Then it goes to the next one. So 1 plus 1 is 2. Once that finds it, it puts in the next, and so on, and so on. So this should get sorted. Let's give it a try. So this one was the non-sorted. And this one, files sorted, is, let's say, file sorted should now be sorted. So let's see what the console says. So first we have the non-sorted 3, 1, 2, and the second one is sorted 1, 2, 3. Perfect. But now we need to turn these into images. So we can just comment that out for now, and then we continue down here. And we need a buffered image array. We're gonna call images is equal to, oh, we need to make it an array. Images equal new buffered image array with the size of files sorted dot length, like so. And just like we do up here when we get the sprite atlas, we use image equals image io dot read, but we can also pass in a file in that. So right here, we also need a loop, of course. So int I equals 0, I is less than images dot length I plus plus. So images I is equal to image io dot read, and we can pass in a file. So we will go files sorted I. And now it's going to give us an error because we need to use a try and catch. And now, hopefully, we have the actual images in our image array, and then we just return images. Should work. We'll see later when we really go over it. But we can remove this, we can remove that one, and sort it a little bit. We can remove that one. So yeah, that's all we need to do for our GetAllLevels method. And there's a few new things here. For example, the URL, we have file, we have URI, and the URL is basically the location to a resource, where the URI is the identifier for that resource. It's a little bit complicated, but this will work if you want to go deeper into how they are different and how they work more specifically. You're free to do so. And then we make a file array, we sort it, we make a buffered image array, and then we place those images that we got from the files into that array. and then we return the array, and then we're done. Perfect. And now we will go to our level class. We're going to leave these two methods here. They're going to be moved somewhere else. But for now, we're just going to leave them here and go over to our level. And we're going to change this up quite a lot, actually, because now we have different levels. So we need to store specific items for that specific level in the level class. So first, we're going to need to store the actual image for that level. So private buffered image. And then we just import it. And we also need to store the private array list of crabs. What else? We need, oh yeah, that's right. We need to change the way we calculate our max level offset, because right now we only have one size of a level, but the levels may change in width. We're gonna lock it at 14 in height for every level, but some levels might be much longer than others. So that's why we're gonna need to store and calculate the level offset for each level in this level class. So let's just head over to playing and steal or copy those actually. So we're just gonna take these. We can comment them out, but not the max level offset, because we're gonna store it in here. We're just gonna calculate it in our level class. So we do this calculation, and then we can call this current level, get me the max level offset for this level. So we're just gonna paste them here. And we're gonna remove the calculations. We're gonna do them in a method instead. Like so. And that's all the global variables and objects that we need to care about. Let's head over into our constructor here. So first we need to change what we get when we create the level. And we're not gonna get the level data. We're gonna get a buffered image. So this dot image equals image, and that is not supposed to be there, but that's more like it. And then we can create level data. Then we can create enemies. And then of course we calculate level offsets. So let's take them one at a time, create the level data. And we could use the method in here, the one from our load and save when we get the level data. But it's not gonna look very clean, so we will simply take this get level data, copy, delete it, and paste it inside our help method class. And the reason why we're gonna put it in the help method class and not in the load and save is because we're not gonna load it or save it, we're gonna give this method our level image, and with this level image we're gonna get back the level data. So at the bottom here we can just paste it in, and the image we get is not there, we pass in an image. So buffered image, and I don't think we need to change anything else actually. Let's go over it real quick. We pass in the image, go over it, returns it. Yeah, I think that is correct. So let's go to level class again and say level data is equal to get level data. And we pass in the image, and it's going to give us an error because it does not know what level data is. So we need to import it up here. Import static utils dot help methods dot get level data, and we can copy this because we need to import another method as well, and that is going to be the get crab. So copy and remove to our help methods at the bottom, paste it, get crabs. No, we're gonna pass in the image. We're gonna remove this image object and then save it. Looking over, looks all right. I don't think we need to change anything else. No, we do not. So to our level, at the top where we import it, get crabs, and create the enemies. We say crabs is equal to get crabs, and we pass in the image. So yeah, that looks good. And now for calculating our level offsets. So we're gonna do the same type of calculation really. We're just gonna go level tiles wide is equal to image.getWidth max tiles offset is equal to level tiles wide minus game.tiles in width. And then of course max level offset x is equal to game.tiles size. Perfect. But we're not done yet. We do need some getters here. For example, we need a getter for our level offset. So public int get level offset return level max level offset x. And the last one is a public array list crabby get crabs return crabs, like so. And I think that is all we need to do for our level class. And we can remove some import here that we're not going to use. And yeah, perfect. And now we're going to work in our level manager, because currently the code says we only have one level, but we want to add more levels. So we need to do some changes in here. And we can start by leaving the game and also the level sprite array, because this level sprite array is the sprites for the sprite atlas that we then build our level. So that one we're gonna leave for now, but we're gonna remove this level and change it into a array list of levels. So level, and then just call it levels, something like that. And then import array list here as well. And we need a index for our level. So level index equals 0, for example. And import outside sprites, yes. Level 1, no. Levels is equal to new array list. Like so. And then we also, of course, need to build all levels. So we're gonna create this method. And this will be pretty simple. We just need a buffered image array, all levels equals to load save.getAllLevels. So there is where our getAllLevels method comes into play. Then we need a enhanced for loop here for our images. Image all levels and levels, our level array dot add new level with that image. And that's how we create all our levels. We might as well solve these errors. We don't use the level 1. We have levels dot get and then level, what did we call the index? Level index. Index dot get level data. I'm just gonna copy this one. And for the index as well, like so. And for getting the current level, we say levels.getLevelIndex. And I think we will need one at least, so let's just create it. Public int get amount of levels. I'm not sure if we're going to need it, but why not just have it in case we do. So levels.size. Maybe we should return it too. Might help. So I think we're done in here for now. We will get back to it when we are dealing with switching between one level and another one. But for now, building our levels work. Then we just need to load our levels later. But for now, this is looking pretty good. And now let's go to our playing class and start to put it all together. First, we can remove these two. We will need in our constructor at the bottom here, we will need two more calls. One will be for calculating level offset because we moved it to the level class. So we need to calculate our level offset. And this will be for our first level or start level. So max level offset is equal to LevelManager.get current level.get level offset. Perfect. And now with that, we also need to load our first enemy. So load start level. And I actually think it's just the enemies we need to call in here, because when we draw the level, we're using it's only the level data and the enemies right now that differs, and the level data is being taken care of inside our level manager here. As soon as we increase the index, we're now drawing another level. So we don't need to worry about that, but we do need to load enemies in our enemy manager. So let's go into enemy manager. It has an error even. So instead of add enemies, it should probably load enemies. And we can ask for, let's just ask for the level. And then level dot get crabs is now our crabbies. And we need to change that one like so. And I think we don't need to change anything in here. Actually, we don't need to call it there, my bad. I think we're done in here. It shouldn't be a private, of course, it needs to be a public because we're calling this from outside. So now we can go to our playing, and in load start level, we say enemy manager.load enemies level manager.get current level. So now we have the enemies for our first level as well as the max level offset. Perfect. We do need a public void that says load next level, because when we complete the level, we simply call back to playing, and then playing takes care of calling each class that needs to be called. So load next level, here we simply reset all first, just making sure that all booleans in player level etc. is fixed, and then we call level manager dot load next level. So now we need to go back to our level manager. Where are you? There you are. And we can take it up here. Public void load next level, and let's see what we need to do. Well, first we need to increase our level index plus. And then we can check if level index is more or equal to levels.size, meaning we reach the max limit, then we need to do something. And I think that we could have a game completed overlay, but it's not that difficult to add if you want. But let's say if we completed all levels, we set level index to 0, so we start over all the games again, or all the levels again. I think that's a simple way. We don't need to add another overlay. So level index is equal to 0. So when we complete all levels, we will go back to menu, and level index will be 0 again. And we need to say something so we know that that happens. So suso no more levels. Game completed. And then we say game state.state equals game state.menu. Something like that. But let's say there are more levels to play. Then, well, level new level is equal to levels.get level index. And then we need to pass this level into our enemy manager. So playing we don't have, but we have the game.get playing.get enemy manager. We don't have a getter for that, so we need to add a getter at the bottom here. So public enemy manager get enemy manager return enemy manager. So now back to why did you enemy manager. Is that better? That's better. Now back to level manager. So get playing.get enemy manager.load enemies. Then we pass in the level. We need to access our player. So game.get playing.get player.load level data, because the player needs a level data for checking hitboxes and the terrain, etc. So we pass in the new level.getLevelData. And then of course we need to say game.getPlaying.set. We don't have that either, so we need to create a method for it. And the method is going to set our current level offset. So public void set level offset int level offset this.max level offset equals level offset, or rather set max level offset. I think that's better. Back to level manager, set max level offset, new level dot get level offset, like so. And I think we're done in here. And I think that's pretty much it. Let's go to our game class here and just remove that, the test we had at the beginning. And let's check if a game starts, if there is any errors that we forgot. So this starts and level was completed right away, which is false. Let's go to our playing and change that up. So level completed is, well, false. And when we call reset all, we also need to say level completed equals false. And we also need to use our level completed when we say next as well as menu. So let's work some in our level completed. So when we release the button for menu, we add 2 brackets and say playing.resetAll GameState.state equals GameState.menu. And if we press the next one, well, we say playing.next level or load next level. So that should work. Let's give it a try and see how it looks or how it works. And we kill the first enemy. And we have no way of checking whether or not, that level offset was bad. And our level offset is broken because when we calculate it, I forgot to just time it times max tiles offset. That makes more sense. Otherwise, it's not going to work. But we have no way of saying that the game is completed. So let's go to our enemy manager and actually add that. In our update, we're going to add a boolean is any active equals false. And if we do find any crabs that are active, we say is any active equals true. And at the bottom here, if is any active is not true, then we say playing.set level completed true. And we don't have that method, but let's go and add it. So playing at the bottom here somewhere, set max level offset, so public void set level completed boolean level completed, and then this dot level completed equals level completed. And let's give it a try and see if it works now. So we should have fixed the level offset. Let's give that a try first. Yeah, that works better, and we should end before. Yeah, that looks perfect. Good. Now let's go and kill the enemy and see if our level completed is working as it should. Everything freezes, perfect. And I click next, and I spawn in the next level. Beautiful. Let's see if the level offset's working. I think the size is the same, but hitboxes seems to work. Yeah, that's all the enemies. And the third one is a much smaller level, but it should work just as well. Yeah, it's smaller and it's working. The collision seems to work. Enemies is working correctly and perfect. So that was all the levels. Let's see if we go to menu and then back to the start. Perfect. You know, there's actually one more thing that I almost forgot that we need, and that is a spawn point for the player that is different in each level. Because right now when we spawn the player, it's going to be 200 and 200 no matter the level. But maybe we should have a different spawn point depending on what the level says. So to our help methods, just like we have for get crabs and get level data, let's copy this part. A public static point get player spawn, and a point is simply a position with two integer values, so x and y. Then paste that loop, and of course we need an image, so let's grab that image. Color get RGB, and we're gonna use the green, but instead of the Krabby value, which is 0, I think, yes, let's say if it's equal to 100 or something. I don't think we're gonna have 100 enemies, so if the value is 100, then return new point. What do we have? We have I times game.tileSize, j times game.tileSize. If not, return null. Not null, but maybe we copy this and we say 1, 1, so top left corner or something. Just something. But yeah, I think we're gonna find it if we have a value of 100. So now we need to use this in our level as well. So level, create enemies, calculate level offset, calculate player spawn, and we need a private point level spawn. And let's import that class. It's gonna be java.avt, calculates player spawn, create a method, and then we level spawn is equal to get player spawn, and we pass in the image. Let's see if it recognizes it. No, it does not. So let's go up here, copy, paste, get player spawn, and save it. So now we have a level spawn, but we also need a getter for it. So public point get player spawn, return player spawn. Not level spawn, player spawn, my bad. Player spawn. I thought it was weird. My bad, it should be player spawn, of course, like so. And now we need to go to our player class. We actually need X and Y. So let's just keep it. We're gonna replace it right away, but let's make a public void set spawn. And we're gonna ask for a point spawn, and then import java.avt. This.x is equal to spawn.x. This.y equals spawn.y. That's for resetting if we die, but then we also need to say hitbox.x equals, well, we can keep hitbox.y equals y. So yeah, now we can set the spawn and also update the hitbox position to that position. And back to our playing, where we load level data, and then we say player.setSpawn, and we need a spawn which is from our LevelMangerClass.get current level.get player spawn, like so. So we have 3 calls for our player. We could probably place it here, but to avoid any weird bugs, let's just keep it. We're gonna replace it right away anyways. When we complete a level, where do we have that? We should have it here somewhere. Load next level, LevelManager.load next level. Reset all, we never called player in there, but we can call player here. So player.set spawn LevelManager.get current level.get player spawn. So we set the new spawn position from our current level. Now we just need to edit our image for our player to be spawned. So let's do that. So I have all the 3 levels here. We have 1, 2, and the 3rd. And I'm just gonna take a color here and see what value we have in green. Just looking if there is, hopefully there is no 100 around. I don't think so. But yeah, let's change it to 100. Okay, and then we're gonna add our player there. In here, we're gonna add our player right there. Let's actually put him somewhere else. Let's see if he can spawn on the right side. And then the 3rd level, which is much shorter, let's keep him. Maybe he falls down there. Let's put him there. He's gonna fall anyway, but yeah, let's give it a try and see the result. Overwrite, overwrite, and also overwrite. Let's just making sure I don't have any transparency going on. Yeah, 100. Perfect. Because if you get a weird number, you can have maybe opacity, meaning transparency, and then you try it. Even though you have the correct green value, the color is looking weird. So just make sure the transparency is not messed up. So all 3 levels saved. Let's now go to our Eclipse, make a refresh, and let's see if I spawn correctly. I did seem to spawn in the correct space, good. Let's see, yeah, I spawned on the right side. Wonderful. And I can go left? Yes, I can. And the 3rd level, yeah. It is working. Beautiful. And if I now go back to the menu, and then I'm back here. Wonderful. So now we got a complete game loop with a level completed, and also we go back to the start if we have no more levels. Wonderful. Alright, I think we can call this completed for now. There's of course a few things that we could improve, such as an overlay when there is no more levels to be played, but I think that is something we can add for another episode later on. But anyway, I hope that you found this episode useful. I know a lot of people have been asking for multiple levels, so I think a few of you will like it. Until the next episode, take care now and have a wonderful day. Bye.
Play with me like cats and a string. You don't understand the pain it brings. You don't ever wanna give me wings. You don't ever wanna set me free. You know I'm addicted to you, and it's twisted, you've been gifted with the evil voodoo. Got me coming back for more, even when I've been screwed. Dolls full of pins, pierce my